I have a confession to make. To be honest, the fact that I rank 10 Studio Series Transformers at a time, but I don't do multiples of 10. For example, I don't do 10 to 20 and so on. It really pisses me off. This started all the way back in part 2, and from there it just offset everything else. And so, for part 7 of ranking every single Studio Series Transformer, I will just do 5 this time, just to round it off to 70. And I think this is the best time to do 5 because this part will cover a very, very big figure. I think the biggest in Studio Series. And before we start the ranking, I did get a comment on my previous part to move Jazz up to A tier. And I 100% agree. I don't know why I forgot about Jazz, but I think Jazz is amazing. The engineering is really good, and when I talked about him before, the only negative was just the size. Everything else is perfect. So I will move him up to A, and I do think he is deserving. And not gonna lie, he might be better than Off-Road Bumblebee. Because another commenter said the plastic quality isn't the best. We are so close to finishing Devastator. We just have 2 more figures left. And one of them is Constructicon Overload, Studio Series 66. I really do like the appearance, but unfortunately, I don't really think this one stands alone. It does look really cool, and I do think it's one of the better looking Constructicons, but unlike with Hightower and Scavenger, where their charm is able to carry them, this one just lacks that special something about it. And that, combined with his pretty poor posability, means that the playability of this figure isn't that high. And due to how the shoulders are lined up, you really can't move them or they look off. And so you can't really pose this figure at all. But the plastic quality does feel very nice. It is very thick and it does feel a lot more higher quality than your average Transformer. But he doesn't really feel like a Transformer. Just everything as a whole, including his aura and presence, just make him seem like he's not really a Transformer. The vehicle mode is cool though. I am a fan of it. I do like how long it is, and I do prefer it over Scavengers. But I don't think he's better than Scavenger in general. I do think he is still a solid figure. It's just something is off about him. And so I will put him above Scrapper, but not above Hightower. And following that Constructicon, we have another Constructicon. The Studio Series 67 Constructicon Skipjack is exactly the same as the Rampage, just in a different color. So if you want my opinion on that mold, just check out that part. I do prefer the colors of Skipjack. It suits the mold a lot more, and the really nice sculpting is a lot more visible with this color. I do think that the red does blur out the details a bit, in my opinion. And so, despite it being exactly the same as Rampage, I would just put him just higher. But they are next to each other, so you could technically just swap them around. It's up to personal preference. We have the most expensive wrecker. The Studio Series 68 Leadfoot is so expensive, but that's mainly due to him being a Target exclusive, which is so unfortunate in my opinion. I love his design the most. I just find him having a belly so funny, and I think they definitely pulled it off without making the overall figure look weird. I just find it so unique, and I just love Transformers that are like this. And as I've been saying with the rest of the wreckers, the vehicle mode is nice as well. So overall, it is a very fun figure, and it's a very unique one as well, where they pulled off all the proportions without making it look weird or without really compromising the overall figure that much. I really do want this figure. It is so sad that I won't be able to. And so he will place definitely higher than, I forgot his name, but this guy. He's better than Shatter, but not better than Soundwave. Scrap Metal. The first ever Constructicon was released in 2019. And now, after so many years, we finally have the entire set. This Combiner was extremely hyped, and everyone was so excited for it to come out. I expected it to be so cool and so accurate due to the initial product shots of Devastator, and that image is what made me want to get him in the first place. And what we got was a bit different. But regardless, I don't really care. It's so large and so bulky and so heavy. He just feels so good and satisfying to pick up, and it holds together surprisingly well. He 100% has the presence, and it is easily the centerpiece of any collection. He just has that aura and that sheer size and weight that really adds to the satisfaction.
Satisfaction.
Of course, as always, the detailing and sculpting is insane. There is way too much sculpting to point out, and not gonna lie, it does end up being a mess because there is just too much sculpting. But as a whole, it does work together, and it just provides a really nice statue piece. And it is so cool to look at. I don't blame you guys if you think it does look like a mess, but in my opinion, I just think it looks so cool. However, I know it is not accurate at all. It does look off. It doesn't really look the best. Why is he standing upright? And what's wrong with his face? Do I wish they made him look like the prototype? Yeah. But do I realize they had to compromise a lot and that they had so many constraints? Also, yeah. It's understandable, and I do understand they couldn't really make it perfect. But you can fix that with the upgrade kit for him, which does improve on a lot, where they even fix his head shape and give him the wings. But for the purposes of this video, I will not consider that. I'll just consider the figure as is. Though I would recommend it if you do have the full set. For a reasonable price, of course. On top of that, his posability is completely non-existent. He is basically a statue. There is no point in trying to pose him. Though a positive is that you can actually get him into a crawling pose. I do think it does look better, but I'm not sure about the integrity that this pose will have on all the joints and stuff. So I just display him standing. The process of getting there as well, it's not that bad. I expected it to be a headache to try to combine all 8 Transformers, but the designers pulled it off so well. Each part of Devastator is really easy to form, and the way they combine is intuitive and not annoying, which makes it a very fun and very cool combiner, which does have that playability, unlike with other Devastators. Overall, I do admit it's not the best it could have been, but it was the best that they could have done, and that is enough. Given all the constraints, I do see so much effort put into this combiner, and it is the most unique combiner ever, in my opinion. It doesn't use a skeleton, it uses very weird shapes and combiner parts, and it balances complexity with the simplicity of a mainline figure as well. And so, just due to the sheer effort and just how monumental this figure is, I have to put him in the S tier. As an objective toy, not gonna lie, Shockwave does beat him. But still, this is an amazing figure, and in my opinion, it is the most influential and the most significant figure in Studio Series. And after that monumental figure, let's see what our final Transformer is in this video. This is exactly the same as the Studio Series 64 Cliffjumper, but in yellow. And in my opinion, I do prefer the colours of Cliffjumper more. I do feel like it suits the character more as well. So even though they are basically the same, this figure doesn't really have the charm that the Cliffjumper has, in my opinion. And maybe another reason why I do prefer Cliffjumper is because I do feel bad for what happened to him. And personally, I'll just put him lower, maybe at the end of C tier. It is just a pretty average figure. And here are the rankings so far. I can't believe I am already finished with Studio Series Devastator, and we are heading to the end of the series. Same thing as always, please leave your suggestions in the comments below if you would like me to move things around, and I hope you enjoyed this part, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.